Fun එක next level කරන dialogue fan blaster.
Tonight, on First at 9 this Saturday, the 7th of December 2024. The tariff dilemma. CEB suggests no tariff revisions for the next 6 months. PUCSL to announce the final decision on electricity tariffs by January next year. The game changer. A digital economy crucial in the incumbent administration's broader vision, says Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya. Rain, rain, not again. An easterly wave-type disturbance to prompt more rains over several parts of the island, reveals the Met Department. The investor exodus. Dutch investors departed due to corruption, reveals Dutch envoy Bonnie Hobart. Promises the return of investors after corruption is tackled.
Chilo Dairy, Sri Lankawama, Kiren Perata. Obe Vishwase dinu Sensodyne, then Lagamati Pharmacy in Labata Hacker.
Kanta Parisan Karagatot? Happy Parisan.
Asian Paints Causeway Aquasafe, Vesat Mat doing together at Disney.
This is Derana First at 9. From Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to Derana First at 9. I'm Aditya Singha joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and around the world. Now taking you straight to your top story this evening. Although incessant rains pelted down island-wide over the past few days, bringing water levels of several major reservoirs to peak capacity and prompting the increase in hydropower generation, the CEB suggests no tariff reductions for the next 6 months through a proposal furnished to the PUCSL yesterday. Meanwhile, the Public Utilities Commission revealed that it will deliberate on the suggestion made by the CEB along with other considerations and make a decision on the matter by the 3rd week of January next year. The CEB's suggestion, however, has sparked outrage with many stakeholders demanding the government to reveal their plans for electricity tariff reductions, while others demanded the reduction of electricity tariffs, citing the increase in hydropower generation and an uptick in CEB profits.
Earlier this year, electricity tariffs were revised twice, abiding by the national policy for revising tariffs quarterly. Thereby, tariffs were reduced by 21.9% in March and subsequently by 22.5% in July 2024. Although electricity tariffs were set to be revised once again in October, the revision was postponed to December. Recently, the country's top electricity tariff regulator, the Public Utilities Commission, rejected a proposal put forward by the Ceylon Electricity Board to reduce rates to 6% from 11%, pointing out the possibility of reducing tariffs by a much larger percentage, considering the torrential rains that Sri Lanka received during the recent past. Minister of Trade, Commerce, Food Security and Cooperative Development, Vasantha Samarasinghe, commented recently on the developments surrounding the electricity tariff revisions.
අපේ මේ ඉන්නේ වැහි වලින් ජලාශ පිරෙන කාලය මේ පිළිබඳව සාකච්ඡා කරලා මහජන උපයෝගිතා කොමිසමට මිලාඩු කිරීම පිළිබඳ තීරණය අපි දැනුම් දෙනවා. ඒ විදුලි බිල සංශෝධනය අපි නිශ්චිතවම කරනවා. ඉදිරි වසර 3ක් තුල විදුලි බිල 130කට වැඩි ප්‍රමාණයකින් අඩු කරන්න ජාතික ජනබලවේග ආණ්ඩුව අපි කටයුතු කරනවා.
Against this backdrop, the CEB submitted its latest tariff revision proposal to the PUCSL, advocating for no reductions for the next 6 months. The proposal revealed that any possible adjustment would be as minimal as 1.02%. The proposal tendered as such by the CEB sparked public outrage. Several pressure groups voiced their concerns and dissatisfaction over the CEB's suggestion to not reduce tariffs for the next 6 months.
Before the incumbent president assumed office, he made several successive promises to the public that electricity tariffs could be reduced by 30% when they take over. He made those promises with the General Secretary of the CEB Trade Union, Ranjan Jayalal, by his side. Where is Ranjan Jayalal today? At a particular rally, the President inquired directly from the audience if they would welcome a decision to slash the monthly electricity bill from 3,000 rupees to 1,500 rupees. We asked the government to present their plan to reduce electricity tariffs. Within 2024 until the month of June, they have incurred a total cost of 232 billion rupees. On the other hand, their profits from January to June this year were 118 billion rupees. Now they say that they do not generate profits. Does the government completely disregard these facts and figures when they plan their budget?
රනිල්ගේ න්‍යායම තමයි අද මේ මාලිමා ආණ්ඩුවත් ගෙනියන්නේ දැන් කෝ අපේ වෘත්ති සමිති නායකයා දැවෙන්ටයකෝ නෑ හැංගිලා එළියට වරලා එළියට අයිලා ප්‍රකාශ කරලා මේ විදුලි බිල සම්බන්ධයෙන් හැංගෙන්න එපා ජයලාල් බෝනස් එක ඉල්ලන්න දැඟලුවා නම් දැන් මේකට කතා කරන්න පුළුවන්කම තියෙන්න ඕනේ.
As of yesterday, hydroelectricity production has risen to 56%, with the water levels of several major reservoirs being replenished by the recent incessant rains. The PUCSL noted that a decision regarding the proposal tendered by the CEB to leave tariffs unrevised over the next 6 months will be announced by the third week of January.
Union Assurance.
Welcome to Cinnamon Life, South Asia's biggest entertainment hub, where awe awaits.
චන්දුරුසුනේ කාගෙන් මන අපේ සිංහ TV සඳහා සුපිරි ඩීල්.
Sadaharita Plantations Limited, celebrating 22 years of your trust.
Now moving on to some breaking news concerning prices of national importance. President Anura Dissanayake has instructed industrialists to provide a kilo of nadu rice at a wholesale price of 225 rupees and at a retail price of 230 rupees. The President has informed the Consumer Affairs Authority to pay close attention to the relevant matter within the next 10 days and strictly enforce the law against rice mill owners who act contrary to the imposed maximum prices. Accordingly, the wholesale price of a kilo of nadu rice will be 225 rupees, while its retail price stands at 230 rupees. The wholesale price of a kilo of white kakulu rice will be 215 rupees, while the retail price will be set at 220 rupees. Meanwhile, a kilo of imported nadu will be retailed at 220 rupees, while the wholesale price of samba rice will be set at 235 rupees. The retail price of samba rice, meanwhile, will be 240 rupees. Wholesale and retail prices of kiri samba rice will be 255 rupees and 260 rupees respectively. Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya highlights that the digital era aligns with the NPP government's goal of not leaving anyone behind, and went on to say that a digital economy plays a crucial role in the incumbent administration's broader vision in achieving national growth and development. Speaking at an event in Colombo, the Prime Minister also revealed plans to achieve $15 billion in annual digital economic output by the year 2030 as part of the NPP digital policy.
Organised by the National Science Foundation of the Ministry of Science and Technology, the NSF Digital Library Conference 2024 was held yesterday in Colombo under the patronage of Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya.
We are very serious about investing in R&D because we think that investing in R&D is essential for the development path that we need to take. As you know, our intention is not to keep the country going in the same direction that it has been going in for the last 75 years, but to take a new direction. And that new direction has to be based on research and evidence and data. We are to take the leap that we need to take in order to be the country that we have the potential to be. Then we need to invest in innovation. We need to invest in new findings, in new technology. All of this needs to happen, and for that to happen, we have to have a robust research and development sector. Most importantly, as a government, we feel that we need to look at technology and how technology can help us bridge inequalities in accessing and sharing information. As we move forward, we must focus on creating innovative digital ecosystems that empower our academic and research institutions to thrive in this digital age. And the digital era provides an unprecedented opportunity to ensure that no one is left behind. Again, an extremely important principle for how our government is organized. Digital economy is an essential part of our broader vision for national growth and development. As part of the NPP digital policy, we have set a target of $15 billion in annual digital economic output by 2030. A key pillar in achieving this goal is expansion and strengthening of the digital service sector by expanding university curricula to include subjects such as digital technology, cybersecurity and AI, and by supporting R&D initiatives through digital platforms. We are ensuring that Sri Lanka's academic and research sectors are well positioned to meet the demands of the digital economy.
With the price of rice being the talk of the town, now let's have a look at some thoughts shared in the political arena today.
In a recent interview, MP Namal Karunaratne claimed that the agriculture industry in the country had been completely decimated over the previous 76 years. That statement is completely false. The current government's inability to handle this problem and regulate the actions of the mill owners is not the fault of the previous regimes. The incumbent government cannot blame the previous governments for its negligence. The public is already aware that this government is unable to carry out its obligations. The only thing that they can do is blabber. The NPP took over a country which had completely fallen apart. We are well aware of the challenges ahead. Within the time we took over governance, we never had the opportunity to reap a full harvest of paddy. Give us some time. The government does not exist to criticize and question administrative actions like the opposition. The government exists to solve issues. If the government still thinks like the opposition, the country's future is dark. This government will not neglect any issue. However, these issues are not those created by the incumbent government. Yet, we are obliged to provide proper solutions to the existing issues of the country. As a government, we are responsible to resolve the issues in the country, and we will not evade that responsibility.
Fast track your career from O-levels with eSoft.
Diabetol සීනි වලින් පරිස්සම් වන ඔබට අමතක නොවන පෝෂණය.
Prime Group ලංකාවේ ප්‍රථම වතාවට හඳුන්වා දෙන land leasing ලේසියෙන් මීටමක්.
Single 1111 up to 60% off from the 11th November to the 17th of November.
Kalani wire කිසි ගින්නක් නැහැ.
කිසි ගින්නක් නැහැ. Kalani Fire Shield Wire.
Now, as Sri Lanka rebuilds itself in the aftermath of its worst financial meltdown, U.S. Assistant Secretary of State Donald Lu reaffirms the United States' support for Sri Lanka in its reform efforts and expressed willingness to strengthen U.S.-Sri Lanka cooperation on governance, agriculture, economic growth and maritime security. Assistant Secretary Lu is currently on an official visit to Sri Lanka and will depart for Nepal, the final destination of his visit.
As part of an official visit to India, Sri Lanka and Nepal, a US delegation led by Assistant Secretary of State for the Bureau of South and Central Asian Affairs, Donald Lu, arrived in Colombo last Thursday. The official visit is aimed at promoting sustainable economic growth, tackling corruption, and strengthening people-to-people ties. U.S. Assistant Secretary Donald Lu is accompanied by USAID Deputy Assistant Administrator Anjali Kaur and Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Treasury Department Robert Caproth. During his stay in the island, U.S. Assistant Secretary of State Donald Lu called on President Anura Dissanayake at the Presidential Secretariat today. The meeting was attended by U.S. Ambassador in Colombo, Julie Chung. Taking to X, Ambassador Chung noted that discussions focused on strengthening cooperation on governance, agriculture, economic growth, and maritime security. The U.S. delegation highlighted the importance of engaging the civil society and the private sector in state operations and also reaffirmed U.S. support.
Now, meanwhile, Ambassador of the Netherlands to Sri Lanka, Bonnie Hobart, disclosed that corruption, legal uncertainty and the systemic bottlenecks of the island deterred Dutch investors from exploring investment opportunities in Sri Lanka. Joining at Hyde Park with Indiveri Amuatta, the Dutch ambassador hinted at the possibility of attracting those investment opportunities back if the country establishes transparent procedures and proper rule of law in the country.
You've seen it all here in Sri Lanka, basically. We went through a difficult time, plunged into crisis, saw queues with no end and shortage of items. And here you are seeing political change as well. And you mentioned how significantly Sri Lanka has improved. So with all this, let's maybe revisit your first day in office here in Sri Lanka.
Yeah, I can still remember when I came, some of the supermarkets, they were not stocked up. There was very little to buy. We had a QR code to get our petrol for in the cars, so we had to be very careful how far we would drive and where we would go to, and still everything was functioning. It's also the resilience and the ingenuity of the people that they were able to establish systems so quickly to allow the country to continue. It also is a testament of the people of Sri Lanka that they are where they are right now, going through these difficult times. And I'm very proud to be an ambassador to Sri Lanka because of what the people of Sri Lanka have showed us. But if you see where you are now in comparison to 2.5 years ago, you must admit that you made huge steps forward. That's not to say that you're there yet. There are challenges ahead of you, but I'm actually quite optimistic about Sri Lanka. I think Sri Lanka can be an example in the region and maybe even in the world of what they are doing right now and how they are trying to set new systems in place that will be equal, that will be fair to everybody, and that will be just. I'm looking with an open view to what hopefully they will do, because it will not only benefit Sri Lanka, it will also benefit our bilateral relationships. I see over the past 2.5 years some of our investors going away from Sri Lanka and going back to the Netherlands because they find it a little bit tricky to invest in Sri Lanka because of an uncertain investment climate, an uncertain rule of law climate. And if that is rectified, I definitely see some of these companies returning. But you need to have transparency, rule of law, ease of doing business. And then Sri Lanka has everything to offer, not only to countries in the region, but also countries like the Netherlands.
I think you've spoken about trade, investment, and the Sri Lanka's potential as a tourism destination here as well. We have so much to offer. How Netherlands investors were rather discouraged from staying in Sri Lanka. Did this largely stem from the political situation in the country, or is it bottlenecks in the system, red tape, and several months to have projects approved?
I think it's both. It also has to do with corruption and those things. Dutch companies, when they do business abroad, they are not only judged in the country where they do business, but they're also judged in our own country. So if they are not allowed to have bribes, they need to have a transparency of the supply chain. They have to make sure that the people in their companies are treated well. And not only according to the law of the country where they are based and invested, but also in the Netherlands itself. So it is good to know that if these things are being improved, it will be easier for Dutch companies to put their money also in countries like Sri Lanka, because those investments are still real investments and you want return of investment. So yes, it's to do with the political situation, but definitely also with ease of doing business, transparency, red tape. And if those things can be resolved, I see Dutch companies returning as well.
Now, in other developments, as Sri Lanka gradually acclimates itself to usual weather patterns, off the back of the recent torrential rains, the Department of Meteorology reports that an easterly wave-type disturbance will affect weather conditions in the island over the next few days. The department also reports that showers will prevail over the northern and eastern provinces, while showers or thunder showers are expected to occur in the western and Sabaragamu provinces.
According to the latest report by the Department of Meteorology, an easterly wave-type disturbance will affect local weather conditions over the next few days. Owing to the influence of the disturbance, showery conditions are expected to enhance in the northern and eastern provinces from the 10th of December onwards. The Met Department also pointed out that the northeast monsoons will gradually establish itself along with the effects of the easterly wave disturbance. Accordingly, the Weather Office predicts showers and thunder showers in the western and Sabaragamuwa provinces and in the districts of Galle, Mathura, Nuwara and Kandy. The Met Department also forecasts misty conditions in the central, Sabaragamuwa, southern, over, western and northwestern provinces during the early hours of the day. Through the report, the Met Department asserts that fair weather will prevail over the other parts of the island. However, given the possibility of inclement weather wreaking havoc island-wide once again, the Department of Meteorology urges the public to take adequate precautions to minimize damage caused by temporarily localized strong winds and lightning during thunder showers.
And now here's a look at more news across the island in brief.
Former State Minister Lohan Ratwatte was arrested yesterday by the Kolpeti police after causing a road accident while driving under the influence of alcohol. Earlier today, the former State Minister was taken to the Judicial Medical Officer by the Kolpeti police. Subsequently, former State Minister Ratwatte was produced before the Hulstorf Magistrates Court, where he was ordered to be remanded until the 9th of December. Former State Minister Lohan Ratwatte and his wife were recently granted bail after being arrested on charges of using a luxury vehicle which was illegally imported and assembled in Sri Lanka. Meanwhile, 2 associates of the organised criminal Valioya Priyantha were arrested in connection with the shooting of a 73-year-old woman in Bogahawava, Padaviya. The police arrested the suspects along with a foreign-made revolver and a T-56 rifle. The police suspect that the confiscated T-56 was used to commit the murder in Padaviya and 2 other previous murders. During the interrogation of the suspects, it was revealed that the suspects intended to fire upon the deceased woman's granddaughter over a narcotics-related dispute. In other local news, 2 lives were claimed in a motorcycle accident which occurred in Nehinna, Dodangoda. It was reported that the motorcycle, which was travelling from Yatagahahena towards Nehinna, veered off the road after the driver lost control and crashed into a tree.
Welcome back. Now in your business news, Ambassador of Sri Lanka and Permanent Representative to the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, Y. Jayanth Edirisinghe, met yesterday with Governor of Bangkok, Chadchad Sitipund, to discuss areas of collaboration between Sri Lanka and Bangkok. According to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the crucial topic that was emphasized during the discussion was the potential adoption of Trafifondu, a highly successful Thai digital tool which helps to address urban challenges, which can be helpful for the Clean Sri Lanka initiative. Another crucial topic discussed during the meeting was the proposal to declare a partnership between Colombo and Bangkok as sister cities aimed at fostering collaboration in health, education, environment, tourism, and cultural exchange. Both parties also discussed to celebrate the 70th anniversary of diplomatic relations with a joint Vesak event next year and agreed to deepen cooperation in cultural exchange, sustainability, and mutual development. And now here's a look at some corporate news in brief.
SEAT and Michelin announced that they have entered into a definitive agreement for SEAT to acquire Camso brands off-highway construction equipment, bias tires and trucks business from Michelin in an all-cash deal valued at 65 billion rupees. The transaction will include the business with revenues of around 62 billion rupees in 2023 and global ownership of the Camso brand along with 2 state-of-the-art manufacturing facilities. This acquisition paves the way for enhancing foreign exchange earnings in Sri Lanka besides contributing to employment opportunities both direct and indirect. Meanwhile, Sampath Bank renewed its partnership with the National Chamber of Exporters for the 32nd Annual Export Awards. This partnership emphasizes Sampath Bank's role as a financial ally to exporters with plans to support key NCE-led initiatives. These initiatives also aim to address critical challenges faced by exporters, including exchange rate volatility and increasing logistics costs, enabling them to capitalize on opportunities in global markets. In a move to bolster Sri Lanka's coconut industry, CBL Global Foods Limited, a subsidiary of the CBL Group, together with the United States Agency for International Development, launched a handbook on best practices in coconut cultivation. The initiative aims to address productivity challenges and improve the livelihoods of farming communities. In addition, the program will also bridge the supply gap by boosting productivity and improving market access for farmers.
That's all the news we have for you tonight. Thank you. Have a great night.